The first time I saw humans in battle, I thought I understood warfare. I had served in the Galactic Council's peacekeeping forces for 17 cycles, witnessed conflicts across 12 star systems, and earned commendations for tactical analysis. My species, the Kethvar, prided ourselves on our analytical minds and strategic thinking. We believed ourselves the military scholars of the galaxy. I was wrong about everything. My name is Thexnel Corvin, Senior Tactical Analyst for the 47th Galactic Intervention Fleet. When the distress beacon reached us from the mining colony on Zirian 7, it seemed like another routine peacekeeping mission. Pirates, most likely. Perhaps a mining dispute that had escalated beyond local authority control. The human colony there had been established only 3 standard years prior, one of their smaller expansion efforts. Humans were still relatively new to galactic society. They had achieved faster-than-light travel barely 50 years ago, making them infants compared to civilizations like mine that had been spacefaring for millennia. Most species regarded them as eager but naive, quick to help, but lacking the wisdom that comes with age. They were friendly enough, certainly, always volunteering for humanitarian missions and offering assistance wherever needed. But militarily. We considered them enthusiastic amateurs at best. The journey to Zirian 7 took 4 days through hyperspace. Our fleet consisted of 2 Kethvar strategic cruisers, a Zelani medical frigate, and a Torthan heavy destroyer. Standard peacekeeping force composition, more than adequate for handling whatever colonial dispute awaited us. Admiral Jexthal, a veteran Kethvar commander with over 30 years of experience, led the expedition. Preliminary scans show extensive surface damage, reported Navigation Officer Yilton as we dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zirian system. Multiple impact craters, several structures completely destroyed. I studied the tactical displays, my secondary brain processing the patterns while my primary consciousness reviewed known intelligence. This appears more extensive than typical pirate activity, I observed. The damage patterns suggest orbital bombardment. Admiral Jexthal's mandibles clicked in thought, a sign of concern among my people. Run a full system scan, check for hostile vessels. The scan results puzzled us all. No enemy ships appeared on sensors. No debris fields indicating recent space combat. Just the battered colony below and an eerie emptiness in the void around us. "Sir," came the voice of communications specialist Nalketh, "I'm receiving a transmission from the colony surface. It's a human." Admiral Jexthal straightened in his command chair. "Put it through." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a human male whose appearance shocked me. His face was streaked with dirt and what I recognized as dried blood. His clothing was torn and scorched. But his eyes held something I had never seen in a human before. A cold, calculated fury that seemed to burn with controlled intensity. "Galactic Council vessel, this is Colonel Marcus Chen of the Zirian 7 Colonial Defense Force. We acknowledge your arrival and request immediate tactical support." Admiral Jexthal leaned forward. "Colonel Chen, this is Admiral Jexthal of the 47th Intervention Fleet. What is your situation? Our scans show significant damage to your colony." The human's jaw tightened. "We were attacked 6 days ago by the Ravager fleet. Vorthak pirates, approximately 40 vessels. They demanded complete surrender and the transfer of all colonists to their ships for processing." I felt my respiratory slits contract. The Vorthak were known throughout the galaxy as particularly brutal raiders. They didn't just steal cargo or demand ransoms. They took prisoners for slave markets and worse, much worse. "Colonel, with respect to your losses," Admiral Jexthal said carefully, "we show no enemy vessels in the system. The Ravagers appear to have departed. We can provide humanitarian aid and help coordinate evacuation if needed." Something shifted in the human's expression. The cold fury in his eyes intensified, but now it was accompanied by something that made my combat analysis centers suddenly activate. It was anticipation. "Admiral, the Ravagers haven't departed. They're regrouping in the asteroid belt beyond Zirian 6. They're planning to return for a final assault tomorrow." "Our sensors show no hostile contacts in that region," I interjected, consulting my displays again. The human smiled, and that smile sent an unexpected chill through my exoskeleton. "That's because they're hiding behind interference from the belt's magnetic fields, but we know they're there." Admiral Jexthal's mandibles clicked rapidly now. "Colonel, If hostile forces of that magnitude are indeed present, we must consider evacuation. Our fleet is configured for peacekeeping, not major fleet engagement. Admiral, the human said, his voice dropping to a tone that somehow carried more authority than any command I'd ever heard. Evacuation is not an option. These animals murdered 43 of our people, including children. They took 17 more for purposes I won't describe over an open channel. This ends here. I found myself studying this human with new interest. In my experience, species faced with overwhelming odds typically chose retreat or negotiation. The mathematical analysis was simple. 4 vessels against 40 was suicide. Yet this human spoke with the confidence of someone holding a superior position. Colonel, Admiral Jexthal tried again. Your courage is commendable, but tactical reality suggests. Admiral, with all due respect, the human interrupted. You don't understand the tactical reality yet. Give me permission to upload our battle plans to your fleet computers. Let your analysts review what we have in mind. I exchanged glances with Admiral Jexthal. Battle plans? What could a small human colony possibly have developed that would change the fundamental mathematics of the situation? Very well, Colonel. Transmit your data. The files that came through our communications array were unlike anything I had ever seen. The level of detail was staggering. Complete tactical assessments of every Vorthak vessel, down to shield generator placements and weapon cooling cycles. Detailed analysis of their command structure, communication protocols, and typical battle formations. Navigation charts showing precise asteroid positions, gravitational fields, and magnetic interference patterns throughout the belt. But that wasn't what made my analytical centers surge into overdrive. It was the battle plan itself. This is impossible, I whispered, studying the data streams. These calculations, the precision required, the timing. Admiral Jexthal was examining the same information, his mandibles now completely still, a sign of intense concentration. Colonel Chen, this tactical analysis suggests you've been planning this engagement for days. How could you possibly have gathered this level of intelligence? The human's smile widened slightly. Admiral, we've been watching them since they arrived. We know their patrol routes, their rest cycles, even which ships have which crews on watch duty. We've been gathering intelligence while they thought they were hunting prey. I stared at the tactical displays, my mind racing to process the implications. The sensor scans you've provided show structural weaknesses in their capital ships. How did you obtain this level of detail? Micro-drones, the human said simply. We've had them attached to their hulls for 3 days now. They don't know we're watching. My secondary brain nearly overloaded trying to comprehend the audacity of what the human was describing. Somehow, a small colonial defense force had managed to conduct detailed reconnaissance of a pirate fleet without detection. The technical skill required for such an operation was remarkable, but the strategic thinking behind it was something else entirely. Admiral Jexthal studied the battle plans more carefully. Colonel, this strategy relies on split-second timing across multiple combat zones, the coordination required. We can handle the coordination, Admiral. What we need from you is specific fire support at designated targets during designated time windows. Nothing more. I pulled up the fleet composition data again. The Ravager fleet consisted of vessels ranging from light raiders to heavy battle cruisers. Even with the tactical advantages the humans claimed to have identified, the firepower disparity remained enormous. Colonel, I said, even accounting for the advantages your intelligence provides, the enemy still outguns our combined forces by a factor of 8 to 1. The mathematical probability of success remains extremely low. The human turned his gaze toward me, and I felt the full weight of that cold fury focus on my position. Analyst, what's your name? Senior Tactical Analyst Thexnel Corvin. Analyst Corvin, your mathematics are based on conventional engagement parameters. We're not planning a conventional engagement. Admiral Jexthal clicked his mandibles slowly. What exactly are you planning, Colonel? We're going to make them afraid, Admiral. We're going to show them what happens when predators hunt something that fights back. The transmission ended, leaving our command deck in silence. I found myself staring at the tactical data, trying to reconcile what I was seeing with everything I thought I knew about human military doctrine. Their plan was intricate beyond anything I had encountered, requiring precise coordination between ground-based assets, orbital platforms, and fleet movements. Admiral, I said finally, if their intelligence is accurate, this strategy could work. But it requires a level of tactical coordination that I've never seen attempted outside of theoretical exercises. Admiral Jexthal was quiet for long moments, studying the data streams. Finally, he spoke. Communications, signal the fleet. All ships are to review the human tactical package and prepare for coordinated engagement operations. We follow their plan. Over the next several hours, I immersed myself in the tactical data the humans had provided. The more I studied their strategy, the more I began to understand that we weren't dealing with naive colonists. These humans had analyzed their enemy with a thoroughness that impressed even my analytical mind. But it wasn't just the intelligence gathering that amazed me. It was the plan itself. Where most species would have focused on defensive measures or evacuation procedures, the humans had developed an offensive strategy so aggressive it bordered on the insane. They weren't planning to survive the Ravager attack. They were planning to annihilate it. The tactical briefing began at 800 ship time. Colonel Chen appeared on our screens again, but this time he was accompanied by other humans. I could see they had been preparing, their equipment was clean and organized, their expressions focused. The cold fury was still there in their eyes, but now it was paired with deadly calm. Admiral, thank you for agreeing to coordinate with our operations, Chen began. Before we proceed, I need to know, are any of your officers squeamish about aggressive tactics? I found the question odd. Colonel, we are all experienced military personnel. With respect, analyst, you're experienced in peacekeeping operations. What we're about to show the Vorthak is not peacekeeping. Admiral Jexthal leaned forward. Colonel, please explain your tactical objectives. The human's expression grew even colder. Our objective is simple, Admiral. Complete annihilation of enemy forces. No survivors, no retreat, no mercy. A chill ran through my exoskeleton again. In all my years of military service, I had never heard a senior officer state such objectives with such calm certainty. The Ravager fleet will return tomorrow at approximately 1400 hours, Chen continued. They believe they're facing a broken colony with minimal defenses. They have no idea what's waiting for them. Over the next hour, Chen walked us through their operational plan step by step. The humans had identified every weakness in the Vorthak formation, every flaw in their tactical doctrine, every point where their superior numbers would become a disadvantage rather than an asset. But what truly amazed me was the level of preparation. The humans had spent the past 6 days not just gathering intelligence, but modifying their infrastructure. Mining equipment had been converted into weapons systems. Industrial fabricators had been retooled to produce specialized ammunition. Even their agricultural domes had been rigged with explosive devices. Colonel, I asked during the briefing, this level of preparation suggests you anticipated this type of attack. How? Chen's expression darkened. Analyst, the Vorthak aren't random pirates. They're slavers. They target isolated colonies specifically because they think colonists are easy prey. We've been tracking their movement patterns for months, ever since they hit the Terran mining station at Kepler 442. You've been preparing for this specific enemy. We've been preparing for war, analyst. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and hope is not a strategy. As the briefing continued, I began to understand that we weren't dealing with typical colonial defenders. These humans had approached their settlement not as farmers or miners, but as soldiers establishing a forward position in hostile territory. Every structure, every system, every piece of equipment had been designed with combat capability in mind. The revelation was staggering. While most species established colonies focused on resource extraction and peaceful expansion, the humans had built a fortress disguised as a settlement. The Ravagers' first attack was a probing action, Chen explained. They wanted to test our defenses and break our morale. They succeeded in destroying several outer buildings and killing our people, but they also revealed their capabilities and tactical preferences. You used the initial attack as an intelligence-gathering opportunity, Admiral Jexthal asked, his mandibles clicking rapidly. Every battle teaches you about your enemy, Admiral. The question is whether you're paying attention to the lessons. I studied the tactical projections again. The humans' plan relied on allowing the Ravager fleet to enter what they believed was a weakened defensive position, then systematically destroying them using coordinated attacks from concealed positions. Colonel, your strategy requires the enemy to behave in very specific ways. What if they deviate from your projections? Chen smiled that cold smile again. Analyst, we've prepared 17 different response scenarios based on potential variations in their approach. Adaptability is what separates predators from prey. As the briefing concluded, I found myself reassessing everything I thought I knew about human military capability. These colonists had demonstrated strategic thinking that rivaled the best military academies in the galaxy, combined with a level of tactical aggression that was frankly intimidating. But what disturbed me most was the realization that this wasn't desperation driving their planning. It was calculated, methodical preparation for total warfare. The humans hadn't just decided to fight back against the Ravagers. They had decided to make an example of them. The next morning, our sensors detected the return of the Ravager fleet. 40 ships, just as the humans had predicted, moving in standard pirate formation towards Zirian 7. They approached with the casual confidence of predators returning to finish wounded prey. They had no idea they were flying into the most sophisticated trap I had ever witnessed. As I watched the tactical displays update in real time, showing the Ravager fleet moving inexorably toward their doom, I realized I was about to witness something unprecedented in galactic military history. Not just a successful defense against overwhelming odds, but a demonstration of what humans could become when their carefully controlled civilization decided to unleash its capacity for violence. Colonel Chen's final words from the briefing echoed in my mind. Admiral, you asked what we're planning. We're going to show the galaxy what happens when someone makes the mistake of hurting humans and assuming we won't hurt them back. The Ravager fleet continued its approach, unaware that 40 ships were about to learn why humanity had earned its place among the stars not through peaceful exploration, but through an evolutionary history of surviving by becoming the most dangerous predator their world had ever produced. I watched the tactical displays and prepared to witness something that would change my understanding of warfare forever. The Ravager fleet dropped out of hyperspace at 13:47 hours, exactly 13 minutes ahead of Colonel Chen's prediction. I watched the sensor displays as 40 pirate vessels materialized in formation, their energy signatures painting an ominous picture across my tactical screens. Contact confirmed, reported Navigation Officer Yilton. 40 vessels matching intelligence profiles provided by colonial forces. Admiral Jexthal studied the formation carefully. They're approaching in standard intimidation formation, 3 heavy cruisers leading, lighter vessels in support formation behind. I activated my analysis protocols, studying the Vorthak approach vector. Their ships moved with the casual confidence of predators who believed they faced broken prey. The lead vessel, a massive battle cruiser designated Skarath's Vengeance according to human intelligence files, led the formation directly toward the planet's orbital space. Admiral, came Colonel Chen's voice over the communication channel, enemy formation is proceeding exactly as projected. Request fleet positioning as outlined in Tactical Package 7. Acknowledged, Colonel. All ships move to designated coordinates. Our small fleet adjusted position according to the human battle plan. The Kethvar cruisers moved to flanking positions behind the planet's larger moon, while the Zelani medical frigate positioned itself at the edge of the system for rapid evacuation support. The Torthan destroyer took up position among the asteroid field, its heavy armor and weapon systems perfect for the role the humans had assigned it. What amazed me was how the human plan had accounted for each ship's specific capabilities. Rather than treating our fleet as generic support units, they had analyzed our vessel's strengths and integrated them into a comprehensive strategy that maximized our effectiveness while minimizing our exposure to enemy fire. Incoming transmission from the lead Vorthak vessel, announced communications specialist Nalkith. Put it through, Admiral Jexthal ordered. The view screen filled with the image of a creature that embodied every nightmare about Vorthak raiders. Captain Skarath stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled hide covered in ritual scars and implanted spikes. His mouth opened to reveal rows of serrated teeth, and his 4 eyes glowed with predatory hunger. Pitiful little colony, Skarath's voice rumbled through the speakers, his words translated by the universal communicator. 6 days to consider my generous offer and still you resist. Very well, today we take what we want from your corpses. Colonel Chen responded with the same cold calm I had heard before. Captain Scarath, this is Colonel Marcus Chen of the Zerian 7 Defense Force. I have a counter-proposal. The Vorthak captain's laugh was like grinding metal. You think you can negotiate from weakness, human? You have nothing I want except your flesh for the slave markets. Actually, Captain, I'm not offering negotiation. I'm offering you one chance to withdraw from this system immediately. Scarath's 4 eyes narrowed. You dare threaten me? Your pathetic defenses couldn't stop my scouts. What makes you think your broken colony can stand against my full fleet? Chen's response chilled me to my core. Because, Captain, you made 2 critical errors. First, you assumed we were prey. Second, you hurt our children. The transmission ended abruptly. On my tactical displays, I watched the Vorthak formation begin its final approach toward the planet. They moved with complete confidence, unaware that they were flying directly into the most sophisticated ambush I had ever encountered. Colonel Chen, Admiral Jexthal transmitted, enemy fleet is entering engagement range. Acknowledged, Admiral. Initiate Phase 1 on my mark. I watched the tactical displays as the Ravager fleet spread into attack formation. Their heavy cruisers moved toward orbital bombardment positions, while their lighter vessels prepared to deploy boarding craft and troop transports. It was a textbook raider assault, designed to overwhelm defensive positions through concentrated firepower followed by mass boarding actions. Phase 1 execute. The asteroid belt beyond Zerian 6 suddenly erupted with weapons fire. Hidden among the rocks, human mining vessels converted into gunships opened fire on the rear elements of the Vorthak formation. The attack came from an impossible angle, striking ships that thought they were safely positioned in the formation's protected interior. But the mining ships weren't trying to destroy the enemy vessels. Instead, their weapons targeted specific systems: communication arrays, sensor clusters, and navigation equipment. Within minutes, the rear third of the Ravager fleet found themselves blind, deaf, and unable to coordinate with their command vessels. Impossible, Admiral Jexthal breathed, watching the tactical display. How did they position vessels in the asteroid belt without detection? I was analyzing the attack patterns, my secondary brain working furiously to process the implications. Admiral, those aren't standard vessels. The humans have modified mining ships to appear as asteroids on sensors. The Vorthak fleet flew right past them without realizing they were there. The genius of the strategy became clear as I watched the battle unfold. The humans hadn't tried to match the Vorthak fleet's firepower. Instead, they had attacked the pirates' ability to function as a coordinated force. The rear vessels, cut off from command and control, began to drift out of formation as their crews struggled to restore communications. Phase 2 execute. From the planet's surface, concealed weapon emplacements opened fire. But these weren't the pathetic defensive systems the Vorthak expected from a mining colony. Industrial mining lasers, modified to military specifications and powered by the colony's fusion reactors, reached out across space to strike at the enemy's heavy cruisers. The beams carved through Vorthak's shields like they were made of paper. I realized the humans had spent months modifying their mining equipment, turning tools designed to cut through solid rock into weapons capable of penetrating military-grade defensive systems. Captain Scarath's voice roared across the communication channels as his flagship's shields failed under the sustained bombardment. What is this? How do these colonists possess such weapons? Colonel Chen's voice answered, still calm and controlled. Innovation, Captain. We turned our tools into weapons, our buildings into fortresses, our home into your grave. The lead Vorthak vessels tried to return fire, but their weapons were designed for ship-to-ship combat at standard engagement ranges. The planet-based installations were too well protected and too far away for their conventional weapons to be effective. Phase 3 execute. That's when I witnessed something that changed my understanding of human tactical thinking forever. The mining domes on the planet's surface, which I had assumed were defensive positions, suddenly revealed their true purpose. They weren't fortifications, they were launch platforms. Hundreds of missiles erupted from concealed silos hidden beneath the agricultural domes. But these weren't standard anti-ship missiles. According to my sensors, they were modified ore processing charges, designed to fracture asteroid cores for mining operations. The humans had converted their industrial explosives into guidance systems and launched them as ship killers. The missile swarm moved in coordinated waves, their guidance systems locked onto the Vorthak vessels that were struggling to maintain formation. The pirates' point defense systems, designed to intercept military ordnance, were completely overwhelmed by the sheer number of incoming projectiles. Explosions bloomed across space as the modified mining charges found their targets. Vorthak vessels that had survived decades of pirate warfare found their hulls breached by weapons that shouldn't have existed. "Admiral," I reported, studying the tactical displays in amazement, "the humans have achieved a 70% degradation of enemy combat effectiveness using entirely improvised weapon systems." But even as I spoke, I could see the Vorthak fleet beginning to adapt. The surviving vessels were regrouping, their captains realizing they faced a far more dangerous enemy than they had anticipated. "All ships target the planet's surface," Captain Scareth ordered, his voice now filled with rage instead of confidence. "Burn their installations from orbit. Show these humans the price of defying the Ravager fleet." The surviving Vorthak cruisers turned their main guns toward the planet's surface, preparing to unleash enough firepower to sterilize the colony. I felt my respiratory slits contract as I realized the humans' brilliant strategy might have only delayed their destruction. Phase 4, execute. That's when our fleet entered the battle. The Torthan destroyer emerged from the asteroid field like an avenging spirit, its heavy plasma cannons already charged and targeting the nearest Vorthak cruiser. The destroyer's thick armor and powerful shields made it nearly invulnerable to return fire as it closed to point-blank range. Simultaneously, our Kethvar cruisers dropped out of concealment behind the planet's moon, catching the enemy fleet from an unexpected angle. Their precision weapons systems, guided by the targeting data the humans had been gathering for days, struck with surgical accuracy at the Vorthak vessel's most vulnerable points. But the coordination was what truly amazed me. Every shot from our fleet was timed to complement the ongoing bombardment from the planet's surface. The humans had choreographed a battle involving multiple fleets, orbital installations, and improvised weapon systems with precision that would have challenged the finest military academies in the galaxy. "Target the command vessel," Colonel Chen transmitted to our fleet. "Take out their ability to coordinate retreat." Admiral Jexthal's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed the tactical situation. "All ships, focus fire on the flagship, coordinate with planetary bombardment systems." What followed was the most beautiful example of combined arms tactics I had ever witnessed. Our fleet's weapons struck the Vorthak flagship's shields at the exact moment the planet-based mining lasers reached maximum power output. The coordinated attack overloaded the enemy's defensive systems in seconds, leaving their command ship vulnerable to the missile swarms still incoming from the surface. Captain Scareth's flagship, the pride of the Ravager fleet, died in a brilliant explosion that lit up space for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. "Command vessel destroyed," I reported, watching the tactical display update. "Enemy fleet coordination is breaking down." But the humans weren't finished. Phase 5, execute. From hidden positions throughout the system, more human vessels began to appear. Not the converted mining ships this time, but actual military craft. Small, fast attack boats that had been concealed in electromagnetic dead zones throughout the outer system. I stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. "Admiral, the humans have been conducting a stealth deployment operation for weeks. They've positioned attack craft throughout the entire star system." The attack boats moved with deadly purpose, their crews obviously well-trained in space combat operations. They struck at the Vorthak fleet's flanks and rear, using hit-and-run tactics that prevented the pirates from bringing their superior firepower to bear effectively. But what impressed me most was the level of communication and coordination between all human forces. Ground installations, orbital platforms, concealed vessels, and our own fleet all moved in perfect synchronization, like instruments in a deadly symphony conducted by Colonel Chen and his staff. "Impossible," Admiral Jexthal whispered, watching the battle unfold. "The level of planning required for this operation. How could a colonial defense force coordinate such a complex engagement?" I was beginning to understand. "Admiral, these aren't typical colonists. These are military specialists who chose to establish a colony in a strategic location." The realization hit me like a plasma blast. The humans hadn't stumbled into conflict with the Vorthak. They had deliberately positioned themselves as bait, using their colony as a lure to draw the Ravager fleet into a carefully prepared killing ground. As I watched the surviving Vorthak vessels struggle to maintain formation under the relentless assault, I began to comprehend the true scope of human strategic thinking. This wasn't just a successful defense of a mining colony. This was a deliberate military operation designed to eliminate a specific threat to human expansion in this region of space. The Vorthak had thought they were hunting prey. Instead, they had stumbled into a trap set by apex predators. "Admiral," came Colonel Chen's voice over the communication channel, "we're detecting attempted retreat vectors from surviving enemy vessels. Request fleet assistance in preventing escape." Admiral Jexthal studied the tactical display. Nearly half the Ravager fleet had been destroyed or disabled, but the surviving vessels were indeed trying to break contact and flee the system. All ships moved to intercept retreating vessels, coordinate with human attack boats. What followed was a masterclass in pursuit tactics. The human attack boats, with their superior speed and maneuverability, herded the fleeing Vorthak vessels into positions where our heavier ships could engage them effectively. Meanwhile, the planet-based installations continued to provide long-range fire support, their modified mining lasers reaching out across impossible distances to damage enemy engines and prevent escape. I watched in fascination as the humans demonstrated something I had never seen before in galactic warfare: absolute tactical control of a three-dimensional battlefield spanning an entire star system. "Enemy vessel attempting to surrender," reported communications specialist Nalkith. Colonel Chen's response was immediate: "Surrender not accepted. Continue engagement." Admiral Jexthal's mandibles clicked sharply. "Colonel, under galactic military law." "Admiral," Chen's voice cut through the transmission with cold finality, "these creatures murdered children. They took prisoners for purposes that violate every civilized law in the galaxy. This ends here today permanently." I felt a chill run through my exoskeleton as I realized the humans had no intention of allowing any Vorthak vessel to escape. This wasn't just a military engagement. It was an execution. The last Ravager ship died in silent explosion 47 minutes after the battle had begun. Not a single Vorthak vessel escaped to carry word of their defeat to other pirate fleets. As the tactical displays finally cleared of hostile contacts, I found myself staring at the impossible results of what I had just witnessed. A small human colony had not only defeated a major pirate fleet, but had done so with such thoroughness that no enemy survivor remained to report their tactics to other hostile forces. "Admiral," Colonel Chen transmitted, "all enemy vessels have been neutralized. Thank you for your assistance." Admiral Jexthal was quiet for long moments, studying the battle summary on his displays. "Colonel, that was the most sophisticated military operation I have ever witnessed. How did your people achieve such tactical coordination?" The human smiled that cold smile one final time. "Admiral, we told you from the beginning. When someone hurts humans, especially our children, we stop being colonists and miners and farmers. We become something else entirely." As our fleet prepared to depart Zirion 7, I found myself reviewing the tactical data from the engagement over and over, trying to understand what I had witnessed. The humans had demonstrated strategic thinking, tactical innovation, and operational coordination that surpassed anything in my military experience. But more than that, they had shown me something that would haunt my thoughts for years to come. I had seen what humanity looked like when it stopped pretending to be civilized and revealed the predator that had clawed its way to the top of their world's evolutionary ladder. The galaxy thought it knew humans as peaceful explorers and eager helpers. After today, I understood that was only one face of their species. The other face was something far more dangerous. Something that would make even the most aggressive species in the galaxy reconsider whether humans were really the naive newcomers everyone believed them to be. 3 months after the destruction of the Ravager fleet, I found myself assigned to what the Galactic Council euphemistically called Human Integration Assessment. My superiors wanted to understand what we had witnessed at Zirion 7, and my tactical analysis of the engagement had made me the closest thing to an expert on human military capabilities. I should have declined the assignment. My first destination was the Terran colony at New Geneva, a peaceful agricultural world that supplied food to 17 systems. The official mission briefing described it as a routine diplomatic visit to assess colonial development and integration with galactic society. What I discovered there changed everything I thought I understood about human expansion patterns. Administrator Sarah Mitchell greeted me at the spaceport with the warm hospitality humans were known for throughout the galaxy. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and calloused hands that spoke of honest agricultural work. She could have been anyone's grandmother, tending to crops and managing farming schedules. "Analyst Corvin," she said, offering her hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Welcome to New Geneva. We're honored to host a representative of the Galactic Council." I accepted the handshake, nodding the surprising strength in her grip. "Administrator Mitchell, thank you for accommodating this visit. I'm here to conduct a routine assessment of colonial integration protocols." She smiled brightly. "Of course, we're always happy to show off what we've built here. Let me give you a tour of our facilities." The tour began innocuously enough. Agricultural domes stretching to the horizon, filled with crops that fed millions across multiple star systems. Processing facilities that turned raw grain into nutrients suitable for dozens of different alien digestive systems. Everything appeared exactly as described in the colony's official reports. It was during lunch that I first noticed the discrepancies. "Administrator," I said, reviewing data on my portable display, "your agricultural output exceeds projected yields by nearly 40%. What innovations have you implemented to achieve such efficiency?" She paused in her explanation of crop rotation schedules. "Oh, we've made some improvements to soil composition and irrigation systems. Nothing revolutionary, just practical adaptations to local conditions." I studied the numbers more carefully. The efficiency gains weren't just impressive, they were impossible according to established agricultural science. "Could you show me these soil composition modifications?" "Certainly, though I should mention, some of our techniques require specialized equipment that might not be immediately obvious to non-agricultural specialists." The tour of the agricultural laboratories revealed modifications that went far beyond simple farming improvements. The soil enhancement systems were actually sophisticated chemical processors capable of extracting minerals and compounds with industrial precision. The irrigation networks incorporated distribution systems that could theoretically handle much more than water. "Administrator Mitchell," I said carefully, "these systems appear to have capabilities beyond agricultural applications." Her grandmother's smile never wavered. "Oh, we believe in building infrastructure that can adapt to changing needs. You never know when flexibility might become important." That afternoon, she showed me the colonies, community centers, buildings that supposedly housed recreational facilities and local government offices. My analytical protocols immediately identified structural reinforcements and communication equipment that far exceeded anything needed for civilian administration. "These buildings appear to be designed to very high structural standards," I observed. "We built everything to last," she replied cheerfully. "Our children's children will use these facilities someday." I spent 3 days at New Geneva, and with each hour I became more convinced that I was seeing the same pattern that had emerged at Zirian 7. This wasn't just an agricultural colony. It was a fortress designed to look like a farm, staffed by people who could transition from farmers to soldiers with frightening efficiency. On my final evening, Administrator Mitchell invited me to dinner at her home. Her house was comfortable and warm, filled with family photographs, and the kind of personal touches that spoke of a life devoted to building something permanent and meaningful. "Tell me, analyst," she said as we shared what humans called coffee after the meal, "what did you think of our little colony?" "Administrator, your achievements here are remarkable. The integration of multiple agricultural systems, the efficiency of your processing facilities, the quality of your infrastructure. It's all very impressive." She nodded thoughtfully. "We work hard to build something worthwhile, something that will last." "I have to ask, though," I paused, choosing my words carefully. "Your colony seems prepared for challenges beyond typical agricultural concerns." The grandmother's smile faded slightly, replaced by something harder. "Analyst Corvin, are you familiar with human history?" "I have studied your species' development, yes." "Then you know we come from a world where survival required constant adaptation, where peaceful farmers had to become warriors overnight when raiders threatened their families. I felt that familiar chill run through my exoskeleton. Administrator. Every human colony is built with the understanding that the galaxy is a dangerous place, she continued, her voice taking on the same cold edge I had heard in Colonel Chen's words. We hope for peace. We work for peace, but we prepare for war. That night, I transmitted an encrypted report to Admiral Jexthal, recommending immediate reassessment of human colonial capabilities. His response arrived within hours, along with new orders that sent another chill through my system. I was being assigned to investigate reports of unusual activities at 17 different human colonies across 4 sectors. The next 6 months of my life became a journey through a galaxy that I had completely misunderstood. Every human colony I visited told the same story, revealed the same pattern. Peaceful settlements that were actually military installations in disguise. Farmers who were actually military specialists. Infrastructure that could transform from civilian to military applications within hours. At the mining colony I discovered that their ore processing facilities were actually munitions factories capable of producing ship-killing weapons from asteroid material. The miners proudly showed me how they could convert their industrial equipment into automated defense systems. At the research station on Wolf 359, the scientific laboratories housed weapon development programs that would have impressed the finest military academies in the galaxy. The researchers casually mentioned that their studies of exotic matter were yielding interesting applications for defensive systems. At the trading post on Proxima Centauri, the commercial warehouses contained enough military equipment to outfit a battle fleet. The traders explained they liked to be prepared for market fluctuations. Each colony I visited was the same. Humans who smiled and welcomed me warmly while showing me infrastructure that could transform their peaceful settlement into a fortress within hours. They answered my questions honestly, but always with the underlying message that they were prepared for anything the galaxy might throw at them. It was at the colony on Tau Ceti that I finally understood the full scope of what humanity was building in the galaxy. Colony Director James Harrison was a former military officer whose transition to civilian leadership seemed natural and comfortable. He walked me through their cultural center, explaining their efforts to preserve human traditions and foster community among the colonists. Director, I said, studying the building's specifications, this facility appears to be designed as a command and control center. He nodded without any attempt at deception. It can serve that function if necessary. We believe in multi-purpose construction. And the cultural archives in the basement. Weapons storage, he said matter-of-factly, though we do keep some books down there too. I stared at him, finally asking the question that had been building in my mind for months. Director, what exactly are humans preparing for? He was quiet for long moments, looking out at the peaceful settlement his people had built. Analyst, have you ever wondered why humanity achieved faster-than-light travel so quickly after developing space flight? Your species demonstrated remarkable innovation. We were desperate, he interrupted. Do you know what our homeworld is like, what we had to survive to reach the stars? I had read the basic geological and biological reports, but something in his tone suggested I had missed crucial details. Earth is a death world, analyst. Massive predators, volcanic eruptions, ice ages, asteroid impacts, plagues, droughts, floods. For millions of years, everything on our planet tried to kill us, and we survived by becoming meaner, smarter, and more adaptable than anything that wanted to eat us. He turned to face me, and I saw the same cold determination I had witnessed in Colonel Chen and Administrator Mitchell. We reached the stars not because we were explorers seeking knowledge, but because we were refugees fleeing a world that was trying to exterminate us. And when we got out here, we discovered that the galaxy can be just as dangerous as the planet we left behind. So you're preparing for what exactly? Everything, he said simply. Pirate raids, resource wars, territorial disputes, alien invasions, the collapse of galactic civilization, the heat death of the universe. We prepare for everything because that's how humans survive. That evening, Director Harrison showed me something that fundamentally changed my understanding of human expansion into the galaxy. In his private office, he activated a secure holographic display that showed the locations of every human colony, outpost, and settlement across known space. At first glance, it looked like random expansion driven by economic opportunities and resource availability. But as Harrison explained the strategic relationships between different settlements, I began to see the pattern. Analyst, what do you see? I studied the display more carefully, my analytical protocols working to identify connections between the seemingly scattered human presence. The colonies are positioned to control major hyperspace routes. What else? Each settlement is within rapid communication range of at least 3 others. And I spent several minutes analyzing the positioning before the full picture became clear. This isn't random expansion. This is a coordinated military deployment. Harrison nodded grimly. Every human colony in the galaxy is part of a unified defensive network. We look like scattered farmers and miners and traders, but we're actually an integrated military force positioned to defend human territory and respond to threats anywhere in our sphere of influence. Director, this level of coordination would require central command authority that doesn't officially exist. Officially, you're correct. Unofficially, every human in the galaxy understands that we're all part of the same tribe, defending the same territory, protecting the same people. I stared at the holographic display, finally understanding what I had been witnessing for the past 6 months. Humanity hadn't expanded into the galaxy as individual colonies seeking economic opportunities. They had deployed across space as a single military force establishing defensive positions. How long has this been planned? Since before we achieved faster-than-light travel, we knew that space would be dangerous, so we planned accordingly. The Galactic Council has no idea. The Galactic Council sees what we want them to see. Peaceful human colonies contributing to galactic prosperity through honest work and friendly cooperation. I felt my worldview collapsing around me. Director, if this is true, then humanity represents a military force unlike anything in galactic history. Analyst, humanity represents a species that has survived 4 billion years of evolution by being prepared for anything. We sincerely hope we never have to show the galaxy what we're really capable of. But even as he spoke those words, I could see in his eyes the same cold anticipation I had seen in Colonel Chen. Humans might hope for peace, but some part of them was actually looking forward to the chance to demonstrate what their species could accomplish when survival was on the line. That night, I transmitted my final report to Admiral Jexthal. My recommendation was simple: treat humanity as a major military power, regardless of their official designation as a peaceful species. His response came within hours. I was being recalled to Kethvar Prime for immediate briefing of the High Command. The debriefing lasted 3 days. I presented my findings to the most senior military leadership of my species, walking them through the evidence I had gathered across 17 human colonies. The pattern was undeniable. Humanity had deployed across the galaxy as a coordinated military force disguised as civilian expansion. Senior Analyst, asked General Vexthon, the highest-ranking officer in our military hierarchy, what is your assessment of human military capabilities? General, based on what I observed at Zirion 7 and confirmed at multiple other locations, I believe humanity represents the most sophisticated military force in the galaxy. The room fell silent. General Vexthon's mandibles clicked slowly. Explain. Sir, every human colony is actually a military installation. Every human civilian is a potential combatant. Their entire expansion into space has been conducted as a military deployment, not civilian settlement. What are you suggesting, Analyst? I took a deep breath, knowing that my next words would change everything. General, I'm suggesting that humanity has been conducting the largest military deception operation in galactic history. They have positioned themselves as the dominant military power in our region of space while maintaining the appearance of peaceful colonists. And their intentions? Unknown, sir. They claim to desire peace and appear to genuinely prefer diplomatic solutions to conflicts. But they have demonstrated they are prepared for total warfare on a scale that could challenge every other military force in the galaxy combined. General Vexthon studied the tactical displays showing human colony positions across space. Recommendation. Sir, we need to fundamentally reassess our relationship with humanity. They are not the junior partners in galactic civilization that we believed them to be. They may actually be the most dangerous species any of us has ever encountered. The meeting ended with orders for comprehensive intelligence gathering on human activities throughout the galaxy. But as I left the briefing room, I knew it was already too late for the kind of intelligence operation they were planning. Humanity had spent 50 years building their galactic presence, while every other species saw exactly what the humans wanted them to see. By the time we recognized the deception, they had already achieved a position of strategic dominance that would be nearly impossible to challenge. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake the feeling that this had all been planned from the very beginning, that humanity had always known this moment would come, and they were prepared for whatever came next. The crisis began 18 months after my report to the High Command, though the seeds had been planted decades earlier across the galaxy. I was serving as senior intelligence analyst aboard the flagship of the Fifth Fleet when the emergency communications began flooding in from across 3 sectors. The Hectari Empire had launched simultaneous attacks on 14 different worlds, their assault fleets emerging from hyperspace without warning to strike at what they believed were isolated, poorly defended targets. Their intelligence had identified human colonies as the weakest links in galactic defensive networks, settlements that could be quickly overwhelmed and stripped of resources. They had made a catastrophic error in judgment. Admiral Jexthal summoned me to the command center as reports continued to arrive. Analyst Corvin, you've studied human military capabilities more extensively than anyone in our fleet. What can we expect? I studied the tactical displays showing Hectari assault fleets moving against human positions across multiple star systems. Each attack force outnumbered the human colonies by factors ranging from 10 to 1 up to 50 to 1. By conventional military analysis, the humans were facing annihilation. Admiral, if my assessment of human capabilities is accurate, I believe we're about to witness the largest military engagement in galactic history. Elaborate. Sir, the humans have spent 50 years positioning themselves throughout this region of space. If they truly operate as a coordinated military force, then the Hectari haven't attacked 14 isolated colonies. They've attacked a unified military network. Admiral Jexthal's mandibles clicked rapidly. You're suggesting the humans will attempt coordinated defense across multiple star systems simultaneously. Admiral, I'm suggesting the humans have been preparing for exactly this scenario, since they first achieved faster-than-light travel. The first engagement reports began arriving within hours. The Hectari attack on the agricultural world of New Geneva met with unexpected resistance when Administrator Sarah Mitchell's farming equipment revealed itself as sophisticated artillery systems. Mining lasers designed to cut through asteroid cores carved through Hectari battle cruisers like they were made of paper. But it was the tactical coordination that truly amazed the military observers throughout the galaxy. The moment the first Hectari fleet opened fire on New Geneva, every human colony within 6 jumps began implementing coordinated response protocols. Admiral, I reported, studying the incoming data streams, human colonies throughout 3 sectors are activating what appears to be a predetermined battle plan. They're not responding to individual attacks, they're implementing a comprehensive military strategy. The Hectari had expected to face isolated farming communities and mining outposts. Instead, they found themselves engaging a military force that had been planning for this exact confrontation for decades. At the trading post on Proxima Centauri, those commercial warehouses opened to reveal enough military equipment to supply a battle fleet. Human traders who had spent years building relationships with various alien species suddenly began coordinating intelligence and logistical support across dozens of star systems. At the research station on Wolf 359, the scientific laboratories began producing exotic matter weapons that violated several fundamental assumptions about technological capabilities. Scientists who had published papers on theoretical physics suddenly demonstrated practical applications that turned their research station into a fortress. But the most shocking development came from the mining colony on. The miners who had been extracting ore for 30 years revealed that they had actually been constructing a shipyard complex hidden within the asteroid field. When the Hectari fleet arrived expecting to find a defenseless mining operation, They instead encountered a fully operational military production facility guarded by automated defense systems that defied conventional understanding of artificial intelligence capabilities. "Admiral," I said, reviewing the tactical data streaming in from multiple battlefronts, "the human response is beyond anything we anticipated. They're not just defending individual colonies, they're conducting offensive operations against Hectari supply lines and command structures." Admiral Jexthal studied the displays showing human forces somehow striking at Hectari positions hundreds of light years behind the front lines. "How are they achieving such operational reach?" "Sir, I believe they've been infiltrating Hectari space for years. Those human, traders and diplomats and scientists who have been visiting Hectari worlds. I think they were conducting reconnaissance and positioning assets for exactly this kind of operation." The realization sent chills through my exoskeleton. Humanity hadn't just been preparing defensive positions throughout their own territory. They had been positioning offensive capabilities throughout potential enemy territory as well. Over the next several days, the scope of human military capabilities became clear to military observers throughout the galaxy. What had appeared to be random civilian activities across dozens of star systems revealed itself as the most sophisticated military network ever deployed. Human merchant vessels that had been conducting trade throughout the galaxy suddenly began functioning as military logistics ships, moving supplies and personnel with efficiency that suggested years of preparation. Human diplomatic missions that had established friendly relationships with various species began coordinating intelligence sharing and strategic planning that turned potential neutral parties into active allies. Human research expeditions that had been studying various phenomena throughout the galaxy revealed that they had actually been mapping hyperspace routes, identifying strategic resources, and positioning reconnaissance assets in every major star system. The Hectari Empire found themselves fighting not just the human colonies they had attacked, but a military force that seemed to be everywhere at once. "Admiral," I reported on the third day of the conflict, "human forces have successfully counterattacked Hectari positions in 11 different star systems. Their operational tempo is unlike anything in recorded military history." "Explain." "Sir, they're conducting simultaneous offensive operations across a front spanning nearly 200 light years. The level of coordination required suggests command and control capabilities that shouldn't be possible with known technology. What we were witnessing violated fundamental assumptions about military logistics and communication in space warfare. Human forces were responding to tactical developments across vast distances with reaction times that should have been impossible. It was on the fourth day that we discovered how they were achieving such coordination." "Admiral," came an urgent report from our communications specialists, "we're detecting artificial intelligence signatures throughout the human communication networks. They're using synthetic intelligence systems to coordinate military operations in real time across multiple star systems." The implications hit me immediately. "Admiral, if humans have developed artificial intelligence systems capable of coordinating military operations across interstellar distances, then they possess technological capabilities that dwarf anything else in the galaxy." Admiral Jexthal's mandibles clicked slowly as he processed the information. "Analyst, you're suggesting that humanity has achieved technological superiority while maintaining the appearance of being a developing species." "Sir, I'm suggesting that humanity has been conducting the most sophisticated military deception operation in galactic history, and we're only now seeing what they're actually capable of." The battle reports continued to arrive, each more impossible than the last. Human forces were not just defending successfully against overwhelming odds, they were systematically dismantling the Hectari Empire's military capabilities. At the Battle of Kepler 442, a single human defense coordinator named Captain Maria Santos commanded mining vessels converted into warships in a running battle against a Hectari fleet that outnumbered her forces 12-1. Using tactics that seemed to defy physics, her flotilla systematically eliminated enemy vessels while taking minimal casualties. At the Siege of Tau Ceti, Director James Harrison coordinated the defense of what appeared to be an agricultural colony against a massive Hectari invasion force. The farmers revealed themselves as military specialists who had turned their settlement into a fortress that held off attacks from an enemy force 50 times their size. But it was at the Battle of Wolf 359 that humanity demonstrated something that changed every species' understanding of what was possible in space warfare. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the scientist who had been conducting theoretical research on exotic matter applications, revealed that her laboratory had actually developed weapons systems that could manipulate spacetime itself. When the Hectari assault fleet arrived to bombard her research station, she activated defensive systems that created localized gravitational distortions. The Hectari battle fleet found themselves trapped in gravity wells that prevented them from maneuvering, while their weapons' fire was bent through spacetime distortions that redirected their attacks back at their own ships. "Admiral," I reported in amazement, "the humans have developed technology that allows them to manipulate fundamental forces of physics as weapons systems." "Confirmed." "Sir, we have visual confirmation of human defensive systems creating artificial gravity wells and spacetime distortions. They're treating the laws of physics as engineering challenges." Admiral Jexthal studied the tactical displays for long moments. "Analyst, in your professional assessment, what are we witnessing?" "Admiral, we're witnessing the emergence of a military force that has capabilities beyond anything previously documented in galactic history. The humans haven't just achieved technological superiority. They've achieved it while conducting a deception operation that kept every other species from recognizing their true capabilities." "And their intentions?" I studied the battle reports, looking for patterns in human tactical objectives. "Sir, they're not seeking territorial expansion or resource extraction. They're systematically eliminating the Hectari Empire's ability to conduct offensive military operations against any target." "Elaborate." "Admiral, the humans aren't just defending against this attack. They're using it as an opportunity to permanently remove a threat to galactic stability. Every Hectari military installation, every shipyard, every weapons research facility, the humans are targeting them all." Over the following days, it became clear that humanity was conducting a military operation designed not just to repel an attack, but to permanently eliminate the Hectari Empire as a military threat to anyone in the galaxy. Human forces moved through Hectari space with precision that suggested they had been planning this campaign for decades. Every strategic target was hit simultaneously. Every escape route was blocked. Every attempt at negotiation or surrender was ignored. The most disturbing aspect was the efficiency. Human forces were dismantling a galactic empire that had dominated 3 sectors for over a century, and they were doing it with minimal casualties to their own forces while conducting the entire operation with the same cold professionalism I had first witnessed at Zirian 7. "Admiral," I reported on the 7th day of the conflict, "Hectari resistance is collapsing throughout their territory. Human forces have achieved complete strategic dominance." "Casualties?" "Human casualties remain minimal. Hectari losses are approaching total military capability destruction." Admiral Jexthal studied the tactical summaries. "Analyst, what happens when humanity finishes with the Hectari?" I had been dreading that question. "Sir, if current trends continue, humanity will emerge from this conflict as the dominant military power in this entire region of the galaxy." "And then?" "Unknown, sir. But based on their operational capabilities, they could challenge any military force in known space." The final Hectari stronghold fell on the 9th day of the conflict. The fortress world of Hector Prime, which had been considered impregnable by military analysts throughout the galaxy, surrendered after human forces demonstrated they could manipulate local stellar radiation to create weapons effects that threatened to sterilize the entire planet. The war that the Hectari Empire thought would be a quick raid against defenseless human colonies had ended with the complete destruction of their military capability and the emergence of humanity as the dominant military force in 3 galactic sectors. "Admiral," I reported as the final battle reports arrived, "the Hectari Empire has ceased to exist as a military threat. Human forces have achieved total victory with casualties of less than 2% of engaged forces." "And the civilian populations?" "Unharmed, sir. Human forces specifically avoided targeting civilian infrastructure or population centers. They focused exclusively on military capabilities." Admiral Jexthal's mandibles clicked slowly. Analyst, what does this mean for galactic civilization? I studied the tactical displays showing the new reality of galactic power distribution. Where the Hectari Empire had once controlled 3 sectors through military intimidation, human forces now occupied positions that could project power across 6 sectors with ease. Admiral, it means that humanity has revealed itself as the most dangerous military force any of us has ever encountered. And more importantly, they've demonstrated that they've been hiding their true capabilities since the day they achieved faster-than-light travel. Recommendations. Sir, I recommend immediate diplomatic contact with human leadership to establish formal recognition of their military capabilities and to discuss the new strategic balance in the galaxy. But even as I made that recommendation, I knew it was too late for the kind of diplomatic relationship we had enjoyed when we thought humans were junior partners in galactic civilization. Humanity had revealed that they were never junior partners. They had always been the apex predators, patiently waiting for the right moment to demonstrate what happened when someone was foolish enough to threaten their territory and their people. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the complete destruction of the Hectari Empire, I found myself standing in the council chambers of the Galactic Assembly, preparing to deliver a briefing that would fundamentally alter the political structure of known space. Representatives from 47 different species filled the amphitheater, their various forms creating a symphony of chittering, clicking, and atmospheric processing as they waited to hear the truth about humanity's military capabilities. I had spent those 6 months conducting the most comprehensive intelligence analysis of my career, studying every aspect of human activities throughout the galaxy. What I had discovered would have been unbelievable if not for the evidence of the Hectari campaign. Chancellor Vexandros of the Zelthani Confederation called the assembly to order. Senior analyst Thexnel Corvin will present the findings of the Joint Intelligence Committee regarding human military capabilities and their implications for galactic security. I activated the holographic displays, showing the assembled representatives what humanity had built, while every other species saw them as peaceful colonists and helpful neighbors. Honored delegates, after extensive investigation, I can confirm that humanity has conducted the most sophisticated military deception operation in recorded galactic history. For the past 50 years, while appearing to be a developing species engaged in peaceful expansion, humans have actually been deploying the most advanced military force ever documented. The chamber erupted in sounds of disbelief and concern. Chancellor Vexandros restored order. Please elaborate, analyst. Every human colony in the galaxy serves dual purpose as civilian settlement and military installation. Every human civilian has received military training and can transition to combat operations within hours. Every piece of human infrastructure can be converted from civilian to military applications using systems that were built into the original construction. I displayed the strategic map showing human colony positions throughout known space. What appears to be random civilian expansion is actually a coordinated military deployment that has positioned human forces to control or project power into every major star system within 6 sectors of Earth. Delegate Morthek of the Torthan Republic rose to speak. Analyst, you're suggesting that humanity has achieved military dominance through deception rather than conquest. Delegate, I'm suggesting that humanity never needed conquest because they achieved strategic positioning through what appeared to be peaceful settlement. They control the galaxy without anyone realizing they control it. The implications settled over the assembly like a suffocating atmosphere. Representative after representative began to understand that the balance of power they had believed existed was an illusion that humanity had carefully maintained. Furthermore, I continued, human technological capabilities exceed our previous estimates by several orders of magnitude. Their artificial intelligence systems, exotic matter manipulation, and space-time distortion technologies represent advances that put them decades, if not centuries, ahead of any other species. Chancellor Vexandros leaned forward. What are humanity's intentions regarding galactic governance? That's what I've been investigating, Chancellor, and the answer is complex. Over the following hours, I presented evidence that painted a picture of humanity that was both reassuring and terrifying. Humans had indeed achieved the capability to dominate galactic civilization through military force, but their actual behavior suggested something different. In every case where humans have revealed their true capabilities, they have used them to eliminate threats rather than expand territory. The destruction of the Vorthak Ravager fleet protected not just human colonies, but shipping lanes used by dozens of species. The elimination of the Hectari Empire removed a military threat that had been destabilizing 3 sectors for over a century. I displayed tactical analyses of human military operations. Their objective appears to be the maintenance of galactic stability rather than the expansion of human control. Delegate Yilthan of the Kethvar Strategic Council asked the question every representative was thinking. But what happens if humanity decides that galactic stability requires direct human governance? Delegate, based on current analysis, no force in the galaxy could successfully resist such a decision. The silence that followed was profound. Every species in the assembly understood that they were facing a new reality. Humanity possessed the military capability to impose whatever governmental structure they chose on galactic civilization. However, I continued, all evidence suggests that humans prefer the current system of independent species cooperating through the Galactic Council. They appear to see themselves as guardians of this system rather than its replacements. Chancellor Vexandros asked the critical question, how do we proceed with this information? I recommend immediate formal recognition of human military capabilities and the establishment of new diplomatic protocols that acknowledge humanity's actual position in galactic civilization. But even as I made that recommendation, I knew the real question was whether humanity would allow us to proceed at all. The answer came 3 days later when a human diplomatic vessel requested permission to address the Galactic Assembly. The request was accompanied by a simple message. The human government would like to discuss recent developments. Ambassador Elizabeth Chen, no relation to Colonel Marcus Chen, though she possessed the same unsettling combination of warmth and underlying steel, arrived at the assembly chambers with a small diplomatic staff and an agenda that would reshape galactic civilization. Honored delegates, she began, her voice carrying easily through the chamber without amplification. I believe there has been some confusion about humanity's role in galactic affairs. The understatement was so profound that several delegates made sounds that could only be described as nervous laughter. For the past 50 years, humanity has been building relationships with the various species of our galactic community while establishing the infrastructure necessary to ensure long-term stability and security. Recent events have made it necessary to clarify certain aspects of these efforts. Ambassador Chen activated her own holographic displays, showing information that made my comprehensive intelligence analysis look like a first-year student's research project. Humanity has indeed developed military capabilities beyond previous galactic standards. We have positioned defensive and response assets throughout civilized space. We have created technological systems that provide us with significant advantages in both defensive and offensive operations. She paused, allowing the implications to settle before continuing. We have done this not to conquer or control, but to protect. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Species like the Vorthak and the Hectari represent threats not just to human interests, but to the peaceful coexistence that allows civilization to flourish. Delegate Morthek asked, Ambassador, what does humanity want from the rest of us? Ambassador Chen smiled, and I recognized the same expression I had seen on Administrator Mitchell's face, on Director Harrison's face, on Colonel Chen's face. Warm and friendly, but with something unmistakably predatory underneath. Delegate, humanity wants exactly what we have always wanted: peaceful cooperation, mutual prosperity, and the opportunity for all species to develop according to their own values and capabilities. And if we refuse? Delegate, why would you refuse? We're offering to continue providing security for galactic civilization while asking for nothing more than the friendly cooperation we have always enjoyed. Chancellor Vexandros asked the question that every delegate was thinking. Ambassador, what happens if the Galactic Council disagrees with humanity's assessment of what constitutes a threat to galactic stability? Ambassador Chen's expression grew more serious. Chancellor, Humanity has always been willing to discuss our concerns with our friends in the galactic community. We value the input and perspective of other species. But ultimately, Chancellor, humanity has the responsibility and the capability to ensure that threats to galactic stability are addressed appropriately. The room fell silent as every delegate processed what they had just heard. Humanity was offering to continue serving as the galaxy's protectors, but they were making it clear that they would make the final decisions about what constituted threats and how those threats would be handled. However, Ambassador Chen continued, we understand that this represents a significant change in galactic governance structures. We're prepared to discuss implementation mechanisms that preserve the autonomy and dignity of all species while ensuring effective security coordination. Over the following weeks, the Galactic Assembly engaged in the most complex diplomatic negotiations in its history. The reality was simple. Humanity had revealed that they possessed the military capability to dictate terms to galactic civilization. But their offer was reasonable. Continue the existing cooperative framework while acknowledging humanity's role as the ultimate guarantor of galactic security. The alternative was unstated, but obvious to everyone involved. I found myself serving as one of the primary advisors during these negotiations, helping various species understand exactly what humanity was offering and what it would mean for their future autonomy. The humans are offering us a protection arrangement, I explained to a closed session of Kethvar leadership. They will continue to allow independent governance while taking responsibility for major security threats. And if we refuse their protection, asked General Vexthon. General, refusal is not really an option. Humanity has demonstrated they can eliminate any military threat in the galaxy. The question is whether we cooperate with their security framework or find ourselves classified as a potential threat. The final agreement, known as the Terran Security Compact, was ratified 6 months after Ambassador Chen's first address to the Assembly. 46 of the 47 species in the Galactic Council agreed to the new framework. The Bralaxian Empire chose to reject the compact, declaring that they would never submit to human oversight of their sovereign territory. The Bralaxian Empire ceased to exist as a political entity 72 hours later. No human military vessel ever entered Bralaxian space. No human weapon was fired at Bralaxian targets. Instead, the Bralaxians simply discovered that every system they depended on for interstellar commerce, communication, and transportation had been quietly infiltrated by human technology over the previous decades. Their government collapsed when they realized they couldn't send messages between their own planets, couldn't move ships through hyperspace, and couldn't access any of the technological systems that modern civilization required. The Bralaxian worlds quickly petitioned to join the Terran Security Compact. As I write this report, 5 years after the revelation of humanity's true capabilities, galactic civilization continues much as it did before. Independent species govern their own worlds according to their own values. Trade and cooperation flourish between different cultures. Scientific research and cultural exchange proceed unimpeded. The only difference is that everyone now understands who ensures that this peaceful coexistence continues. Human colonies throughout the galaxy continue to appear as friendly agricultural settlements, mining operations, and research stations. Their inhabitants smile and wave when visitors arrive, eager to share their achievements and learn about other cultures. But now we all know what lies beneath that friendly exterior. We know that every human settlement is a military installation. We know that every human civilian is a potential combatant. We know that humanity has positioned itself to respond to any threat to galactic stability with overwhelming force. Most importantly, we know that humanity has the capability to eliminate any species that poses a threat to the peaceful galactic order they have chosen to protect. The galaxy is safer now than it has ever been. Piracy has virtually disappeared. Territorial conflicts between species are resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. No military force would dare threaten civilian populations knowing that humanity would respond with total annihilation. But sometimes, in the quiet hours of night watch aboard our ships, I find myself wondering what will happen if humanity ever decides that galactic civilization needs more than protection. What will happen if they decide it needs direct management? I remember Ambassador Chen's words during those diplomatic negotiations. Humanity wants peaceful cooperation, mutual prosperity, and the opportunity for all species to develop according to their own values and capabilities. But I also remember the cold smile she wore when she said it. The same smile I had seen on the faces of humans throughout the galaxy when they talked about protecting what they cared about. The galaxy is peaceful now. Humanity has given us security, prosperity, and the freedom to live according to our own values. And we have all learned never to give them a reason to change their minds about what kind of governance galactic civilization requires. The humans were right about one thing. The galaxy is a dangerous place. We just never realized that the most dangerous thing in it was our friendly neighbors who had been protecting us all along. Now we know, and now we understand why the galaxy has become so peaceful. Everyone has learned to be very, very careful not to make humanity angry. Because when humans get angry, civilizations cease to exist. And they do it with the same friendly smile they use to offer you coffee and ask about your family.